Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of the Get Good series with me. Woo! Welcome. I only mainly have these three drawings done, like this one that I did, a Freeman, this one that I did, a Folklorist, and this one that I drew. Here, we can start with this one. If you watch my older videos, you'll know I actually drew this drawing before. It's basically like the same thing. I went back and I looked at my older pieces and I was like, I really want to draw this one. I want to finish this up. So this is how I usually start off with. This is like my sketch, and then as you can see over here, what I usually like to do is I like to fill it in with blue or dark color, and this kind of shows off for all where I want the lighting to be. So when I draw, I like to draw like this. I like to have the sketch down, and then I'll start the lighting. I feel like lighting is really important for me because it's something that I just really want to get better at. So when I start drawing, and I put the sketch down, and then I'll fill the entire character in blue, and then I'll just start cutting away. That's how I usually how I like doing lighting. Usually with lighting, it's I don't know, there's a lot of different ways, but for me this is the best way that works. I like going like this, and from there I'll slowly put in the colors. This is how I like these, or just the base colors. Honestly, I just color pick. I really messed up this part. Dug myself into a hole when drawing this. I did the sketch, I did the drawing, and I started rendering right away, but by the end of it I didn't really like it. Instead of drawing like this, I should have started with thumbnailing. I had to basically delete everything and restart over on the background again. I still like the render of the character. I think it was fine. Even after that, I didn't like this. I really hated the background. I didn't like the clouds. I didn't like the birds. I was okay with the flowers. I think the flowers looked okay, but honestly the whole thing was just not clicking. Redrew the background basically. I tried moving the character around. You can kind of see here, over here and here. I tried moving the character around, but I think I liked it when the character was in the center. When you're doing these tiny thumbnails and for backgrounds, or just in general thumbnailing, what you're putting on page should be done really quickly. It should be done so that you can have the idea of what you want to draw and kind of see the big picture. This is what your drawing will look like at the end. Which is why thumbnailing is super important. It's something that I should have done first, because if I actually thumbnailed this, I would have been oh, I don't like the colors. I don't like the way this looks. Instead, I had to go back and redo everything. I used the thumbnail, and then I redrew the background, trees and everything. I have so many layers, you can kind of see. For this drawing, I went kind of crazy with the layers. I feel it's something that I kind of tend to do if I'm kind of struggling, or I'm not too confident when I'm drawing. I'll just keep making layers and layers and layers. I have the same thing as always. I have the RGB, the noise in the background, and then I blur the background. For characters and stuff, and for landscapes and backgrounds, I feel positive space is one of the things this is your positive space. It's what you want your viewers to look at. So it should be the most detailed, it should be the cleanest. And then everything else outside of that, all the trees and stuff over here, that stuff should be less detailed. You can also have it in the reversed way, where it's more detailed in the background and less detailed on the character. But I think this way is just the easiest. When you're drawing backgrounds and stuff, and you're drawing these characters, you kind of want to have a purpose, you want to have a scene, you kind of want direction. When you're drawing and you want to draw backgrounds, all this stuff, you kind of want it to tell a story, and you want your viewers to look at the whole thing. Thinking about it beforehand, oh, what is she doing? Oh, she's gonna walk. Where's she walking? Somewhere. Where? In the forest. What is she holding? She's holding her staff. Those small things really matter for storytelling. I feel for this one, I really wanted to push my storytelling a bit. You can kind of see here with so when it's cold, you have little things here like this. I have the puff here, and the mist here. And you can see it over here. It's snowing. There's heavy snow, and then for me, I wanted to have it so it's building up on the character, and it makes your characters feel more lively when they have something to do, something to go, somewhere to go. It's just things in general like that. If you just draw a character in a white void, it's they look nice, and if you render it nicely, it looks nice, but I feel it's a bit boring sometimes. I'm really trying to move away from that, which is why I'm drawing all these backgrounds. When you're drawing too, you want to check your values. I feel recently I've been trying to push my values as well. So you can kind of see here. This is black, and over here is the white. Usually when you're looking at characters and stuff, right, you're gonna look at the point of highest contrast. I feel the white of the hair really draws your attention, and then the black kind of forces your attention to the white. When people are looking at stuff, they'll look at the brightest point of highest brightness. So this is pure white, so it should just draw your eyes right to it. Another thing that draws people's eyes is saturation. So if you look at my drawings, right, usually you'll notice this, but I usually draw with super low saturation on areas that I don't want people to look at, like trees and stuff. You can see no saturation as I drag my thing across. But on the character, that's the focal point, right? That's usually where I want the character to look, or I want your eyes to look. So over here you can see my colors like shift. Over here it's not so as saturated, but over here it's like super bright and saturated. Those are like my little secrets, my little tidbit. Also, like another thing is like where you don't want people to look, you can just blur it. Like over here, and you can just like blur the edges of where you don't want people to look. That's like one of my secrets as well. Or if you didn't draw anything, like if you drew something and you didn't like the way it looked, hide it so that nobody can see it. Like over here, it's kind of rough. This is my secret technique on how to draw in a way to like hide your mistakes. I feel like when I make these videos, I just like talking about like what I'm thinking of. I can reflect on it myself. These videos aren't very like serious. They're more of like a self-reflection for myself, so I can look back on these. Over here, it's like the same thing as this one. Over here, I used like a photo from Unsplash, and I drew my character. And with the character, I just kind of started rendering. Rendering and like painting is like, you kind of have to be patient when you're rendering and painting. It's something that just takes time to do. You just keep rendering over and over again, and like you kind of go from sketch to render, and then you go back inside and you can like start doing line art. Which is like really strange. I think like most people when they start off, like even I did this, you'll go from like sketch, line, render. It's like this way, where you go sketch, render, and then like when you feel like it, you go back and you can draw lines again if you want to add more like hard edges and stuff. Another thing with like painting is like, even if you don't paint, like even if you want to start painting, one thing that you can like, you kind of have to get used to is like learning to not care about like how your line art looks or like removing stuff, and just like trusting the process. If I didn't like the way the braid looked, I would just paint over it, which I know is like, oh my god, you're removing all your hard work. You work so hard on like the braids. Why would you remove it? If you don't like it and it's like not working for you, then when you paint, it shouldn't be like that. It should be more like, as long as this looks better, then I'm gonna just change it. So if you like didn't like the braids, you just go over and paint over on top. It's just a different mindset to have. Like usually when you're sketching or lining, it's like you're kind of stuck with whatever you have, right? And you're like, oh, I would have to reline everything. But with painting, it's not like that at all. It's like whatever you have can always be changed and like rendered over on top again. And it doesn't really even matter, like even if you notice, if you like zoom in closely, not everything that I draw is like perfect, but when you're like looking at it from far, most people won't really care. I painted these hands, but like just because I got the general shape and I got like the knuckles, I think it looks like an actual hand. Over here too, you can kind of see I just have the shape, but like because I have the shape, it just looks like a hand. There's like some people that like really like to push saturation, but for me, I like having things really desaturated over here. So if you have everything saturated, nothing's gonna look saturated. But you have everything desaturated and some stuff saturated, those things that are saturated will look even more saturated. That contrast is like what makes things pop out. And like I feel like colors either way, it's something that you're gonna learn yourself. Like the colors that I choose are probably not gonna be the same that you choose. So those are like all the things I really did for this week. I don't know if I'm like really like I'm not really like an educational channel or anything. I'm more like a diary channel. I talk about like my art, and then like I try giving little tips here and there, but I'm still learning myself, so like everything that I say is like things that I've kind of picked up throughout the years. I hope you learned something, maybe not. All these videos are just me like rambling on. I always ramble on about like small little things like this. Here we have little doodle. Next you can kind of see here. Over here it's like I drew Miku. But the problem with this one I found is like, I feel like her hair ties are really weird. Like in this one I feel like their perspective is off because she's supposed to be like looking towards us, right? But the part of the thing would actually be more like angled towards you. When I was drawing it, I just couldn't really I was like really struggling with that. Since you're ready here, I did like emotes too. Emotes actually take like a lot longer than I thought. I was really surprised about like the amount of time that these emotes took. Like I think these emotes took as much time as like me drawing this illustration. After this, I kind of went back and did more studies. These were like supposed to be two-tone, but I think I messed them up a bit, so don't look at these for examples. And like over here, it's like a little doodle. I wanted to make it more like dynamic this time. I don't know if you can kind of tell, but like foreshortening. I wanted it to be like this, where the character is like, you're seeing like more the top, like you're looking down on them, like you're taller than them. When you're drawing things like this, it's like, it's just good to imagine the character as like a rectangle or like a cube. That's basically it for this week. I was really surprised, like last week, the last video I made with like the VTuber model, I was really surprised with like the amount of people that watched it. It kind of blew up. For me, it's like really surprising. It's like not my usual type of video. I kind of tricked everybody into subscribing or whatever. It was really nice reading all the comments. I tried commenting on everyone, but it's really hard to keep up if you get a lot of comments. I hope you enjoyed the video either way. I'm not really like a live 2D artist, to be honest. I'm more of like a illustrator. So if you like illustrations and you kind of want to see my progress, I feel like these videos are more like a diary for me. My progress in art and like where I want to go. So if you enjoyed this type of video, you know, stick around, like and subscribe. Follow me on everywhere like YouTube, Twitch, Twitter. That's like where I mainly post. I'm really lazy with like posting and stuff. I hope you enjoyed the video either way. and I'll see you again in another 2 weeks. Bye bye!